A few years ago, I bought a rusty bench off of Facebook Marketplace, and not because I wanted to. It was because I saw something in the background of the photos. Scattered across this guy's yard were a bunch of weight plates, hundreds of pounds of them. At the time, gym equipment was basically gold. Stores were completely sold out of any fitness equipment, and weights were selling for upwards of $5 a pound. I had just stumbled upon a potential gold mine. But the crazy part was I wasn't even a reseller. I wasn't running a business yet, and I just wanted to build a home gym like everyone else during 2020. What happened next taught me one of the most valuable lessons I have learned when sourcing inventory. And in today's video, I'm going to show you the exact process that I use to find high value items to resell. It has never been easier to be a reseller, but at the same time, it has never been harder to find quality inventory that resells quickly for a high profit. It was the spring of 2020 and gyms across the country were closed down. And just like many other people, I wanted to build a home gym. However, there was nothing available to purchase. From your local stores to online marketplaces, there was nothing available within the fitness industry. So I turned to Facebook Marketplace and I searched that every single day looking for the equipment I needed. One day I found a listing for a rusty bench. This bench looked like it was sitting outside in a farm field forever. However, what I had noticed in the background of the photos was a bunch of weight plates. Now, at the time, these weight plates were so hard to get, and they were selling for extreme prices when you could actually find them. So I quickly sent him a message asking if he would be willing to sell the weight plates. He actually told me he just needed this stuff gone, and that if I came today and picked up the items and took everything, he would make me a killer deal. So I quickly hopped in the van and headed his direction to see if I could buy all of these weight plates. When it was all said and done, I ended up with close to 700 pounds in weighted plates. I brought them home and I started cleaning them. I soaked them, like literally look at this photo. It's completely disgusting. But I spent the time to remove the rust and I repainted them. I ended up keeping some for myself for my home gym that I was building, but the rest I decided I would resell. And it didn't take long. Within a few days of listing these weight plates on Facebook Marketplace, I had completely sold out of every single one that I had purchased. And I had made more than enough money to cover the cost of building my home gym. The thing that I learned that day is that the stuff is out there, but the person that has it doesn't even know that you want it. Literally, this stuff is out there and people have it. They're storing it in farm fields. They're storing it in barns. It's down in their basement. It's in a box. They forgot about it. They don't even know they have it. They don't know how much it's worth. And they definitely don't know that you are out there looking for these items. When I drive around my neighborhood, I actually look at houses, especially if the people are outside, and I like to think about what these people potentially have inside their house. That new couple that just moved into the HOA, maybe they just upgraded internet and they have a bunch of Orbi routers that they are no longer using. They unplugged them, they threw them in a box, and they're sitting in their basement now. That older couple in the big house, maybe their kids are all grown up and they're still storing their childhood stuff down in the basement. Everything from vintage toys to video games are being stored in that basement, just waiting to be rediscovered at some point. The stuff is out there. It's just currently hidden and not for sale. This brings us to our biggest problem today. As resellers, we have more competition than we ever have. It's not just the old school pickers anymore. It's Karen from the PTA whose kids are at school. She watched 2 TikTok videos and now she's a reseller scanning barcodes at the thrift store. Even when you go out to yard sales, people that are selling at yard sales are not stupid anymore. They're able to use Google Lens. They're able to pull up comps on eBay. They're able to have access to information to at least have an idea of what items are valued at. Luckily, most of these people and a lot of resellers come and go quickly, and they're not willing to put in the work to actually sell these items for the prices that they're seeing online. Now for me, 95% of my inventory comes from garage sales, yard sales, thrift stores, and estate sales. The other 5% are items that I actually hunt down. And this is the strategy I use to find those items. Step 1, find the demand. Just like in 2020 when gym equipment was super hot, you want to find items that are just like that. Now, this doesn't have to be something trendy. This doesn't have to be something that's just going to be popular for a couple months and go away. I like to think of seasonal items. Snowblowers sell great in December and kayaks sell great in May. But it could also be a rare or trendy item. It could be something that other people just are not able to find. Currently, right now, vintage clothing is super popular, and there are a lot of people at thrift stores looking for this vintage clothing. Video games are a super desirable thing by most resellers. Even resellers that are niched down and sell in only one category, they're not going to skip over video games because they know it has an easy resale value. So if you want to be a video game reseller, you have to find other ways to source this inventory because it's not going to be sitting on the shelf at thrift stores. But the critical thing here is that this process takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. So you want to be focusing on things of high value. You don't want to be focusing on those $10 items. Those are the items you can find every day at the thrift store or at yard sales. What I am looking for are home runs. I want to find items that sell for hundreds of dollars. If I'm investing time in going and finding these items and sourcing specific items and just tracking down one item and spending a bunch of time finding that one item, I want to make sure that the payday is going to be great enough to pay for all the time that I invest into it. If you are unsure of what to sell, I would highly recommend starting with seasonal items. So things like lawnmowers and snowblowers to skiing equipment and kayaks. These all have a seasonality to them, and they're a great place to start. If you buy them in the right season and sell them in the right season, there can be some huge margins on these items. These are also very large items that people don't want to store. So if you buy it at the right time, they'll give you a discount because they don't want to store it. If they're moving, even better. They don't want to move with these items. So you can pick these items up super cheap and sell them for great money. If you're only looking to sell items on eBay, I would highly recommend using the product research tool. It gives you great information about what items are selling for and how much they're selling for. If you're not sure how to use it, check out this video here where I break down that tool and exactly how to find what items are hot. Step 2, once I find the item I'm after, I want to reverse engineer it. Who originally bought the item? Who has the item now? Why would they be selling it right now? The weights that I bought, well, he was moving and selling the house and he just didn't want to deal with them. He actually just needed these weights gone because he needed to be able to mow the lawn and sell this house. So for him, it wasn't about the money. He was practically giving them away because he just didn't want to deal with having to move them. This strategy works with anything. That local business down the street that's closing up its doors, they're a perfect place to reach out and see if they're selling any of their old inventory or if they're selling any of their equipment. If someone mentions in a Facebook ad that they're moving and they need to get rid of things, this is a gold mine. This is where you start asking them for those big items, those things that people don't want to move. When reverse engineering, I like to think of what other items the person has. So if I'm after video games, I might assume that the person might also be into Pokemon cards or comic books. If I'm after a high-end baby stroller to flip locally, then that person might also be selling baby clothing or baby toys. I want to know what items the person is likely to have so that I'm able to find that person in the first place. Step 3, track them down. This involves a lot of cold outreach. When I was looking for the weights for my gym, I would find people that were selling treadmills and I would send them a message saying, hey, do you have any weights that you're selling as well? Someone selling comic books, but you want video games? We'll ask. Someone selling a camera bag? Well, maybe they have some high-end lenses that they're also looking to get rid of. How about joining Facebook groups? People that are in hobbyist groups upgrade their gear all the time. From fishing poles to hiking equipment to even motorcycle ride groups. These groups give you the opportunity to find items that may never even end up at a yard sale or thrift store. Now, I know what you're thinking. A lot of times these groups specifically say that you're not allowed to sell things within the group. So yeah, don't break the rules. Don't get kicked out of the group. It's a great opportunity to be inside these groups. Instead, when you see someone that's posting consistently in this group, this is someone that's super into whatever this hobby is. Click on their profile and see what items they're selling. Go ahead and send them a message on the item and say, hey, I see that you're selling this motorcycle helmet. Do you have any spare parts for a Harley? Or, hey, I see that you're selling these trekking poles for hiking. Do you happen to have a backpack? And if they say no, it's not a big deal. Or if they say, yes, I do, but they're asking retail prices for their items because they know exactly what the items are worth, that's fine as well too. Because guess what? You now just learned something. So when someone is selling something in a hobby group and you took the time to message them about that item, you have now put that item in your memory bank. And the next time you're out at the thrift store and you see that brand or you see that particular item, you know that that's an easy pickup. This is a win-win. When it comes to reselling, knowledge is everything. So if you gained a little bit of knowledge by talking to someone or by being in a group about some kind of hobby, you have learned something. And now when you go out to those thrift stores, you will be able to spot these items and pick them up. Number 4 is a complete game changer. Expand your range. Most of your competition isn't willing to drive further than 15 minutes. Like seriously, most people will complain about the gas money. Most people will complain about the time. Most people will say it's a waste of time to drive so far. Well, while they're making excuses, I'm out there making money because I'm willing to take the risk to drive a little bit further to see if I can close a deal. I'll drive hours if the deal is right. Now, this doesn't work if you're buying $10 items to resell. However, how far would you drive if you're buying a collection that you could resell for $1,000? How about some big, large item that you can flip locally for $1,000? How far would you be willing to drive to make this kind of money? Something I like to do often is change my location on Facebook. So I'll go into the app and I'll change my location to other areas nearby. And I'll start searching there and I'll see if I can find any items in those areas. I live in a densely populated area with a lot of resellers. But like I said, most people aren't willing to drive more than 15 minutes. So if I put my radius an hour outside of where I live, I can be the only person sending messages and trying to buy these items. This can work great if you can line up a few purchases within a different city, or if you're traveling to that city or want to make a weekend out of going there. If you're planning a vacation and you're heading to a new area, whether it's for work or vacation with your family, why not pull up Facebook a week before and start looking and seeing what items are for sale in that area? Try to set up some deals while you're there. If you can set up the deal ahead of time, it may only take a few minutes to drive over and pick up these items and bring them back home where you can resell them locally for more money or even resell them on eBay. And if you were going there anyway, it doesn't cost you any extra time, gas money, or any of the other things. You're able to just source these items because you happen to be in a new area. During the peak of trying to find gym equipment, I remember one Sunday night where after dinner, I was scrolling on Facebook for an area outside of my town. I found a guy that was cleaning out a storage unit and he had a complete gym setup. It had everything you could possibly ever want. Now at the time, I had basically completed my gym setup, but I was hooked and I was continuing to look for gym equipment. I saw this listing and I sent him a message. He said, yeah, no problem, come up and get it. I need it gone today. It was late on Sunday and this was over an hour and a half in just one direction. But to me, it was worth it. So me and my wife hopped in the van and we drove an hour and a half to meet this guy at the storage unit. We bought the complete setup of the gym, loaded it into our van and drove it home. I never removed it from the van. I actually used the photos from the guy's listing and I sold it later that week with free delivery included because it was already loaded in my van. I drove it and I resold it to someone in my local area who was unwilling to drive that far to go buy it for such a cheap price. I was able to make more money on that one deal than I had made that entire week working my 9 to 5 at that time. This isn't easy. Things are going to go wrong. You're going to drive 2 hours outside of your area to go pick up this collection. And when you arrive, the collection isn't as good as you thought. It has some water damage on it and you don't want it and you come home empty-handed. You're going to send out 20 Facebook messages asking for camera equipment and no one is going to respond except for that one guy that knows exactly what it's worth and he's asking more than what you can resell it for on eBay. And that's why I would never use this system to find low dollar items. This is a system I only use to find the home runs. I'm looking to make hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars, especially if I'm driving super far. If I'm just sending out messages, I'll lower my price radius. But if I'm driving any distance, I want to make sure that I'm not only covering the gas money to drive up there, but I'm also covering the time that I'm spending to drive up there. Now, I prefer to do this in my downtime. So that means while I'm standing in line at the thrift store, I'm sending out a bunch of messages asking people if they have certain items. While I'm sitting at home at night watching a TV show, I'm changing my location on Facebook to a different town and I'm looking to see what they have for sale in that area. And if I'm traveling somewhere or going on vacation, I'm looking at that area on Facebook before I ever get there so that I can set up these deals and swing by and pick them up and not spend a bunch of time on vacation going and sourcing inventory or standing in line at a thrift store. I can just pick up a few items while I'm up there on vacation and maybe even cover the cost of my entire trip by just being willing to put in the work before I ever even go there. This system is just another tool that I use to create opportunities when I have downtime. If you enjoyed this video, I think you're going to love this one, so go ahead and click it.